the improvements to tech ed, as well as the improvements to our commons cafeteria area resulting from the referendum. And again, thank you to John for arranging that and helping us out with that. So we will move into item 1, which is public access to meetings. Due to the public health emergency and the need to limit gatherings, we are encouraging members of the public to attend school board meetings remotely. However, we have moved our meetings, at least for now, to SPASH in order to allow the public to attend and allow us to be able to safely social distance. All of the requirements of mask wearing in our district are mandatory, and we are grateful that members in attendance will comply with the same recommendations and rules that we have for any visitors, for all students, for all staff, for all parents in our buildings. We will move into the meeting opening and roll call. If you could go ahead and do that, Carolyn.
Mr. Mansky.
Here.
Ms. Va. Mr. Pope.
Here.
Ms. Portson.
Here.
Mr. Wade.
Here.
Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Ebel.
Here.
Ms. Rano.
Here.
Ms. Erler.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
I will also note that the state noted, but we also as a board have consistently, if people are speaking and they believe that they need to remove masks during that time that they're speaking, they are able to do so. So you may see some members up here choosing to remove their mask in order to speak. If anyone who is here is having a hard time understanding, please let us know. We'll move into item 3, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. And the flag is public comments. I will go ahead and I will note for public comments that at the March 8th, 2021 meeting, the school board approved reinstating in-person public comment at meetings and will also continue during this time accepting comments submitted by email due to the public health emergency that we are involved with. So I want to note that public comments must be related to an agenda item. In the event that a public comment is not directly focused on a particular agenda item, that public comment will not be allowed. So I will move into item, and as the chair, I have the authority to determine whether that comment is related to an agenda item. So we will move into item 1. We have Keith Olson representing SPAEA, indicating that he would like to speak on 6C. Yes.
Yes.
So 6C is related to employment recommendations, so the comments should be related to employment recommendations in front of the board under 6C.
Hi, I'm Keith Olson. I'm the beginning band teacher here in the district, for those of you that don't know me. I'm also the president of SPAEA. Our longevity committee asked me to present this to you guys tonight. SPAEA has conducted a study of surrounding school districts that provide longevity compensation to their employees.
Keith, I'm sorry, that is not related to employment recommendations. Employment recommendations are related to people that we currently are looking at hiring.
Solely for people that you are looking at, not
currently hiring.
in regards to the pillars or...
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you letting me try.
All right,
Thanks.
you bet. Thank you. We'll move into item 2, which is Krista Olson, Stevens Point area. Private prom, 4C.
Hi, I'm Krista Olson, City of Stevens Point. I'm speaking in support of the gala event that is going to be for SPASH, the SPASH Gala. I think it's very important that our students have an event for them to celebrate their graduation, and I hope that maybe in years to come we can return back to having project graduation. It was created as an event because of the issues in the late 80s with students partying on their graduation and having tragic outcomes because of that. I would like to see that we continue on with having something for our seniors, and that we can hopefully maybe next year bring back project graduation. I commend the senior class for what they are doing with having a gala event, and I hope them very much success in their event, and I hope that it turns out for the students, and I support them all with what they're doing. And I just also want to make the Stevens Point School Board aware that we are also realizing that you can't have a prom this year. So there are 2 different separate prom groups that have been organized, 2 parent proms, one for the senior class, which is being held on May 8th, and one for the junior class being held on May 22nd. So if that helps alleviate some of the pressure off of what the senior class is trying to do, we hope then that they can maybe make it more of an event that can replace what project graduation was and continue to keep our seniors safe. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Pam Lloyd, and she's indicating agenda item superintendent report.
I just want to say that I'm against this SPASH gala, and I think that it should be a graduation versus project graduation instead of a dinner for the students, because a dinner is just kind of boring for seniors, and so I'm against that and for the project graduation.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Becky Cresson, and she is also speaking with respect to the superintendent's report.
My first concern regarding the student performance is the fact that back in January, about 50% of the seniors were not on track to graduate, and that statistic was not made public. And so there was a rush to provide services and whatever to get them to graduate, to get out the door. And as a result, we now have the same problem that we're facing with the juniors, because the seniors were obviously put first. The juniors were not given enough resources, and so they've now gone their sophomore year and their junior year. So I'm very much hoping that next year is very different and these juniors are not falling this far behind and we don't have this problem again. Also being told by parents that there are teachers in this school that do not want to teach in person and are continuing the same type of teaching they did virtually, basically putting on movies, putting on stuff on the screen, and not actually teaching. So if that is true, I'm being told that's multiple teachers. That's not helping the students learn. That's making them fall further behind. Also, in regard to masks, it has been slowly extended, and then all of a sudden it was extended through the end of summer without any input, whereas the state recommendation has gone away. There are school districts around the state that are doing away with the mandates. There are other schools that, at least if the children are outside, if they're the 3 feet apart, whatever it may be, they're allowed to take off their masks. It is not healthy for children to be wearing masks 8 hours a day. There is long-term health effects, and this has been going on for how long now that these children have been doing this. They need to have time without masks, And the children who are doing virtual because they cannot wear masks need to be able to get back in school.
Thank you. We have David Iden also speaking with respect to the superintendent's report.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I guess I would like to thank you also for the efforts to get the kids back in the school 4 days and approaching 5 days, which is very welcome. My son is a senior here. I feel that his senior year has been taken from him, just like the end of his junior year. Math tends to be a strong suit for him. I just received notice again of an F grade in pre-calculus, which is a bit of a challenge. I know it's been a struggle at home attempting to study, and he does as well as he can. It's more than disappointing to see him with an F in this class. He's getting A's in, I believe, most all of his other classes. So the problem is to get everyone back into school, I think is wise. We've made efforts. Concerned about distancing, I think, was changed to 3 feet. I know it was discussed some time ago also in regards to bringing all the students back, which I'm sure had to be a consideration. I also, I received information regarding what I'm hoping is just a proposed cover of the student planner for the coming school year. And I do have a problem with this for a number of reasons. Primarily the Marxist clenched fist, which this is well known as in the center of the cover of the planner here. I would certainly hope this would not be approved by any means or allowed. It says be accepting and be tolerant. A Marxist clenched fist tends to be a revolutionary symbol. Is this the type of thing we want to be putting on a student planner for the coming school year? And I'm questioning whether or not this would even be deemed appropriate. You know, I don't know what the procedure is for how these things are chosen. Nevertheless, I thought I would bring this up too, because to me this is not tolerance, or it's the wrong message that we're sending to put on a student planner. That being the case, again, I thank you for your time. I hope we can get away from masking also, because schools never have been a super spreader. Children are on the least risk. Teachers who don't want to teach, I guess maybe if they don't intend to come to school, there may be some other options for them in employment then instead of teaching. And that's my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Keith Kudrowski, and he is speaking with respect to the superintendent report.
Good evening. Thank you for having the open meeting tonight for us, and thank you for letting them back to school 4 days. I don't understand why not 5 days. PPE is available, vaccines are available for teachers. My friends' children are suffering depression. Kids who've never gotten less than a B are getting D's and F's, and just unacceptable. CDC, World Health Organization, declared a health emergency for COVID back in January of 2020. Supposed rate of 3% death rate. After it all washes out, it ends up that truly it's less than 0.1% death rate. An absolute, just an overplay of the effects of the disease. A bad flu, absolutely. Dangerous, yes. I've lost friends. They had side conditions. Breathing. Breathing is one of the most important psychological functions to sustain life and health. Human body requires continuous and adequate oxygen supplied to all organs and cells. The mask limits the amount of oxygen. I have COPD. I can relate to walking with a mask to my car. With this mask, I will be sucking wind versus no mask. So, in the end, the kids need to be back to school 5 days. They're pretty invincible to this. The teachers have the PPE. Why 4? Why not 5? They're suffering. Depression, grades, horrible. So do what's right for the kids, not for the teachers. Teachers get paid to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Julie Warzella, also speaking with respect to the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much for all you guys do. I know it's got to be a very hard position you guys are in, and we appreciate your time being on the board and all that you guys do. I too am concerned about the student planner.
So that, I guess I need to step back. That is not an item on the agenda tonight. The superintendent is not speaking about the planner. I'm aware, Sarah, you received a copy of it, and I'll ensure that someone is reaching back to you with respect to that. But right now, that's not something that's on the agenda. So you can't speak to that. But if there's something else related to the superintendent's report on the schools, you're more than welcome to speak on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We also have one email public comment that I will read, and that was submitted by Jennifer Kildow, 800 Meadow Street. Thank you for returning the children of Stevens Point to 4 days a week in school. With the number of cases dropping to very low numbers and the weather getting warm, it is now time to return the children to 5 days per week. The children of this community should not be wearing masks for 8 hours per day, which can cause illness and mental problems. 25% of children have considered suicide since this has all started. It is time to return to normal. The CDC states 3 feet of distance is what's recommended. Stop making this all a political thing and do what is right for the children. Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else here this evening who would like to make public comment with respect to any of the items on the agenda? Thank you. We will move into item 5, which are presentations, and our first A is the Student Senate Representative Report by Alexis Sturkey.
Hi everyone. So today is our second week back in the building with both of the cohorts, and this went very smoothly, but the first day it was pretty overwhelming. It was a really big change. And this week things are starting to seem a little more normal from a student standpoint. Things are back to how they used to be, and lunches are going very well and spaced out. Like we said in the tour, we have 4 different areas to eat, and all students are able to remain socially distanced while eating. The Spash Music Department has announced the concert dates this year, and they will be Thursday, May 13th for orchestra, and Tuesday, May 18th for choir, Wednesday, May 26th for band at the Piffner Band Shell. Spash is also producing a radio play, and auditions will be tomorrow. The alternative fall sports season wrapped up for both girls volleyball and girls swimming, and I would like to give a congratulations to the following girl swimmers who competed in the Division I state swim meet last week. We have Eloise Cooper, Sophie Trawanka, Jillian Engelbright, Anna Johnston, Brooke Swicky, Ashley Pankey, Claire Swicky, Sydney Gargalack, Sydney Hoff, and Sophie Johnson. Girls and boys cross country, both soccer and football, are still and will begin tournament season soon. And the class officers and I are working on with school leadership to plan a senior gala. The purpose of this event is to provide our seniors with a celebration that honors them by including some elements of the important things that they've missed this past year, including prom, homecoming, project graduation. This will not be a dance, but instead a gala that includes formal attire, dinner, pictures, and entertainment. Masks will be required and all COVID protocols will be followed. I know Superintendent Gerlach will comment on this as well, and that concludes the Student Senate update.
Thank you, Alexis. Item B, communication reports, Sarah O'Donnell.
Hi, thank you. The communication dashboard for the month of March is included in your board packet. We saw increases in social channel impressions, engagements, link clicks on all channels, with a slight uptick in followers consistent with what we have seen over the course of the school year. Media coverage and hits continue to remain high. Those were mostly focused on vaccine availability for school employees over the month of March, and then deployment of federal funding with the passage of the most recent COVID relief legislation. 2 of those stories were picked up by the AP, which led to national exposure for the district and really high numbers that we won't match for April, so fair warning on that. This year we will again partner with School Perceptions to deploy our climate and culture surveys. We'll do that in early May. When we think about stakeholder groups, we've done our staff and we've done our parents and guardians for a number of years. However, this year we're also going to add a student component to that. So we'll be adding a survey that looks at connectedness, drive, citizenship and leadership, preparation, social and emotional aptitude, wellness and equity, specifically coming into our strategic planning year. I really want us to have just a bigger kind of idea of where everybody's at as we move forward with that. We have not committed to do that annually, but we'll take a look and see kind of what those results are when they come back and see how they help inform decisions. That's it for me.
Do board members have any questions of Sarah?
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Item C, the superintendent's report.
First, congratulations to Meg Erler, board president, Judy Randall, and Mike Wade for your re-election to the school board for the next 3 years. I really think that says an awful lot for you as a board to see this consistency. There has been a significant change this year at the poll last week as it relates to school board members. First, there have been board members challenged in certain communities by not only just one candidate, but groups of candidates to change the makeup of the board. There's also a change in that board members that are up for re-election have said, this was a tough year, I'm done, I'm burnt out, I can't do this anymore. So we've got the same board in the community and representing our community. I think that speaks volumes because there have been some very, very challenging decisions in this country over the course of the last, actually 18 months. So congratulations. The model, operational model status overview that Sarah put together way back when, in terms of our cases, actually look as good as they ever have. We have 1 positive staff member and 6 quarantine students. We have 1 positive student and 44 quarantine. We would compare that, of course, to the course of the last year. That is as low as it's been. That said, Portage County, Wisconsin, Portage County is trending up a little bit. I ran we have been straightforward all year that in our elementary schools at 6 feet, we would be able to socially distance most of the time, but there is a conflict. So certainly the 3 feet really does help us out significantly. Wish I would have come out a couple months ago, but we'll take it. Portage County, you're all aware that Governor Euler's mask recommendation was deemed not legal. That said, Portage County still has a recommendation to wear masks, and then we're going to wear masks. We're going to wear masks the rest of the year. We're going to wear them throughout the summer, and we'll have conversations with next year. It's going to look like. I've received a tremendous amount of positive feedback from community members and parents. Coming back to school 4 days a week, I also we see, quite a bit of criticism for coming back 4 days a week. So that trend continues. I said all along, or I've said when I say I, and I'm probably referencing administration in general, we need to get our students back 5 days a week, and ideally we want to get them back 5 days a week prior to the end of school. We're looking at May 17th, and I know that's only a few weeks of school left, but I just think more than anything, it's what it means. It's the messaging that we need to do, and we are going to get back to school. We are going to get back to school as normal as we can by the end of this year, because that's going to help us for the summer planning and our summer attendance. I'm anticipating a very high summer attendance for summer school, and it's certainly going to start setting the stage that our intent is to come back to school next year 5 days a week. Now, it may be, if you recall, this fall we staggered a few things, and we reported back to the board, regardless of the COVID issues, to some degree, it makes sense to stagger a few things. So we'll give you more in terms of what that may look like. But trust me when I know kids need to be in school, and that the academic growth this year, not just in the Stevens Point School District, quite frankly, but in the entire state of the country, has been significant. Our learning model is going well, as was stated by Alexa earlier. Again, I'm hoping at April 26th, our organization meeting, I'll be able to step forward and say, for these reasons, we've been in school 4 days a week, things are going well, our numbers continue to be manageable, our staff is now vaccinated, we're going to do a survey. Obviously, it's going to be confidential on the number of staff that actually are vaccinated, and based on that information, we're going to come back to school in September. So that is forthcoming. Unrelated attendance area child care survey. There's a survey going on for the families regarding child care.
Could you just hold 1 minute?
Sure.
We did just receive an email that the public is not able to hear the meeting. I don't know if, just talk in the mic.
How's that?
I got an email that said we cannot hear any of the audio of tonight's meeting. I'm not sure who can.
Can you hear now? Would we know that?
I don't know. It's just an email that I received.
If somebody texts us.
This was our greatest concern about having our technology work for those that are here.
Can those on WebEx hear us?
Tom Owens and Van, can you hear us? Mike?
I can. I mean, we're getting a lot of echo in the big hall, but I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you as well.
So it appears those
But
that
again,
are
there is an echo.
on WebEx, other than the echo in here, can hear us, but those that are on live stream cannot.
May not be able to.
Right. Apologize for that. I don't think there's anything we can do right now other than continue with the meeting, knowing that this will be available. It's live, it's taped. People can view it. necessary. I'm getting a call now too.
I'll note that we met here 2 times this week. This is
residents of the Junction City attendance area. We've heard that there's a lot of families that don't have access to licensed childcare, and they may be either open enrolling out of the district, or they're not sending their children to 4-year-old kindergarten. So we really wanted to get some hard data to see if that was actually the case. So once we get all of that information returned, we'll come back and share that with the board. If there is a great interest in doing so, we may be back and asking the board to allow us to hold a 3- and 4-year-old childcare in Kennedy School, which we would have space to do that. So just letting you know it's out there, and we'll bring more information as it becomes available.
So Corey, can you remind me, I know with our 4K, the vast majority of our 4K students are being served 4K with many community providers. My understanding, we as a district are providing 4K out in Junction City, is that correct?
Correct. We have a district 4K program in Kennedy School currently, but the majority of our 4K programs are within the community. So we have 17 different sites within the community where most of our 4K students attend either a daycare, a childcare, CAP services. There's just a slew of community resources that we partner with for 4K.
So that would be childcare for those students for the half of the day that they're not in school?
Correct.
Yep. Any other questions of Corey about that? Thank you.
Yep.
And it was talked about a couple times tonight, SPASH is organizing a gala event to include some of the things that we lost this year to the best we can as it relates to maybe the homecoming that was lost, the prom. And yes, there will be a dinner involved and entertainment. It's trying to do what we think we can do and to the best of our ability. So thank you to Principal Bollendorf and his staff for working on that with students and parents. And also thank you to Spectra Print for donating the funds to create the posters of honoring our students or our seniors. That'll be coming out soon, recognizing yard signs. Are there any questions for me?
Craig, I had a question. As far as the one gentleman alluded to this today in the comments, I've seen a lot of literature about students falling behind because of the conditions that they had to go to school in this year. And I'm certainly students in our district are a little behind, I think, from where they would be normally. Is there a way to measure that, to find out if that's actually true? And if so, is there something that, as a school district, we can do to, say, help those kids catch up?
I don't know if I can give you specifics. I can tell you that we talk about this weekly at our cabinet meetings. We're concerned about remediation of next year. There are dollars that are coming forward through the federal grant, stimulus dollars, and quite frankly, we're going to receive a tremendous amount of funding for COVID relief. Everything from getting a reimbursement on the PPE, to hiring resources next year specifically for not only remediation, but to deal with the mental health issues that we know we're going to see. Now, I'm hoping that in May I can come back with a report on that. We don't have all the details of that, but we know that there's going to be a need for remediation. In terms of measuring it, it's challenging. It'll be interesting to see what our ACT scores look like. And that's one measurement that we have that we can compare to past years. But I will bring more info back on that as it relates to what our plan is as it relates to the ESSER funds, and I'll have Corey and Carnegie prepared to address that as well.
I know students take state exams, and I don't know if we've had any results from those. Is there any indication that scores are lower there?
You can come up here and speak, but I don't think anybody can hear you anyway.
We're in the process of taking the state exams right now. That window was open until the middle of May, so we likely won't get those results back until probably August. So we'll have those to look at and compare to past years. But we also have internal measures. So we've got MAP assessments that we give. We're piloting a new program called FastBridge. So that will also give us some more data that we can look at right now. So we are seeing, though, that students are behind. To what degree, that's yet to be determined.
And we would be working, if so, we're going to have some things we can do.
Absolutely. We're going to have to maybe look at what resources can we provide to those students. Does it mean additional staff maybe? Does it mean interventionists? Will there be more special ed referrals? Likely, where students can get more support. So we're going to have to game plan and prioritize, what is our need and what do we need to do to get those students caught back up.
Do you see anything for seniors? Because, they're going to be gone. And our colleges, as far as you know, kind of, I don't know how to say it, bending the curve or something that's going to say we know what the year's been like, and we're not going to hold you to a standard as it would be in a regular school year.
Honestly, I can't speak for post-secondaries, but I can say that they are making some accommodations for students entering into college. I know they're just as concerned as K-12 are, and they will definitely take the past basically year and a half into account as those students transition to those universities.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have a sense of summer school enrollment right now? I guess I know we just opened it up. I know that we've got a pretty broad curriculum for this summer, and we're looking to do the traditional 6-week for virtually all of the classes, other than, there are a couple exceptions for that. But what are we seeing in terms of both kids signing up for the kind of the remediation classes as well as for the other substantive classes that we're offering?
Summer school registration is still open, and we're seeing a lot of people interested in summer school. So that's encouraging. I think, we've got a good wealth of remediation classes. We've got a lot of outdoor physical activity classes that students need to be involved with because they've been cooped up for so long. And then we have some enrichment classes. So once that closes, we can definitely bring more information back to the board and provide you with those exact numbers.
Do any other board members have questions of Craig or Corey? I guess just one question for me. Is the gala going to be here at Spash? Or is that going to be at Holiday Inn? It's going to be at the Holiday Inn? Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move into item 6, which is our consent agenda, and the consent agenda has the minutes of the prior school board meeting from March 8th, 2021, the approval of the schedule of monthly bills, and employment recommendations. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Scott and second by Rano. Any discussion, questions? I will go ahead and have Carlin call the roll due to the scheduled monthly bills.
Mr. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Ebel,
Yes.
Mr. Pope,
Yes.
Ms. Portson,
Yes.
Ms. Rano,
Yes.
Ms. Va,
Yes.
Mr. Mansky,
Yes.
Ms. Erler.
Yes,
Passed unanimously.
thank you. We'll now be moving into item 7, the business services portion of the agenda, so I'm going to turn that over to Mike Wade, who is the chair of our business services HR committee.
Well, thank you, Meg. There's a number of items under business services. The committee, as you know, has not met for some time. Hopefully, we'll be meeting in the future. The first item is resolution designating school district depositories. I believe this is something we approve annually. Dr. Owens, I know you're live. Anything you'd like to say about that item?
Sure. Can you see what's on the screen now?
Yes.
Is that showing up?
Yep.
Yeah, those that have computers, yes, I would
Okay.
probably be difficult right there.
Okay, well, the first item is the resolution designating school district depositories. It's a perfunctory activity, but it is required by state law annually that the board take this action. This is just identifying the various depositories that the board either does or may use to place its money or do investing in. Our recommendation is to approve, again, this list.
And I will move to approve the resolution designating school district depositories.
Second. Any discussion or questions with respect to that motion? It was a motion by Wade and a second by Portson. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? The motion passes.
The next item under business services is a bid award for the Ben Franklin asbestos abatement. And Dr. Owens, would you like to tell us about that?
Certainly. What you can see on the screen now is the number of vendors. We had 4 vendors who bid on the work for asbestos abatement at Franklin. The budget had an amount of just over $79,000 in it, and we were fortunate to get the bid at $50,550. So we came in $29,000 under budget, so that's good. So we would recommend approval of Robinson Brothers Environmental to do the asbestos abatement work at Ben Franklin.
And I will move to approve Robinson Brothers Environmental for asbestos abatement work at Ben Franklin Junior High School in the amount of $50,550.
Second. And is that, who was that second by? Barb. Second, okay, so motion by Mike Wade and second by Barb Portson to approve. Any discussion or questions of board members?
Tom, I have a question. I don't know that you have an answer, but obviously, one of the bids is 3 times, more than 3 times the amount that the bid you're asking us to improve. Any thoughts on what that's about?
Dr. Owens, did you hear that question?
No, all I could hear was echoing.
I can answer that.
Okay.
We're in a very competitive and busy building season we have for the last several years. When you see such a discrepancy in numbers, typically one is very, very high. It's a company that is so busy they don't need the work, but if they're going to throw a price tag on it, somebody's going to be, I'll say, foolish enough to say, we'll take it, and they'll figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
They obviously don't need the work, and they might not even be able to get it done.
Okay, I just wondered. That's a big difference.
So the motion is the approval of Robinson Brothers Environmental. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion passes.
And our next item is 7C, a bid award for the roof bid for Bannock Elementary. Tom, if you can hear me, can you go over those bid numbers?
I certainly can, yes. Bannock Elementary roof is something we've been trying to address for some time. It has several areas where we have some soft, squishy water on our insulation, et cetera, and there's other parts that need to be replaced, so we're really looking forward to getting this taken care of. The original budget that was put in some time ago was for $317,500. The low bid is $798,000. We were able to make up that difference or get that $480,000 difference from the savings on Ben Franklin bid package 17, which came in about $700,000 under budget. So we took 480 of that and applied it, so we're able to cover this comfortably and get the work done. So we recommend approval of this bid.
So I will move to accept the bid of Maurer Roofing for the Bannock Elementary roofing project in the amount of $798,490.
Second.
So it's a motion by Wade to approve the bid and a second by Ranow. Are there any questions of Tom or Craig?
Yeah.
So, Tom, I guess the one question I have is, what happened between our original estimate of what the cost was going to be and the reality of what the cost is?
Yeah, originally they were looking at not doing the complete roof, but there was so much work that needed to be done, the entire roof had to be done. So the scope was expanded a little bit, we picked up the whole roof, and that was principally the reason for the extra cost.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? So the motion again is to accept the bid of Maurer Roofing for the Bannock Elementary roofing project in the amount of $798,490. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? The motion passes.
And our last construction project for the evening, item D, bid award for McDill, bid package number 16. So Tom, this is quite extensive. Would you like to go through it?
The table summary of the low bidders, all of these are low bidders. You have the ability to click on and look at the full number of bidders and the full, that is attached. But this shows the low bidders that took place for bid package number 16. McDill was budgeted at about 2.6 million. 3 years ago when they looked at it, there were a number of things that they didn't recognize that had to be expanded. For example, we found that the generator, which we thought would be fine for the building, it turned out that it was undersized when we got done with the plans, and the code required that it be relocated. So that created some additional expense, certainly not the full reason for the difference. That's just one of the contributing factors. There are a number of other areas within the building that needed to be redone where the cost was expanded in the project, as well as some of the bids coming in a little bit more than originally thought several years ago. This is the last major bid package that's coming up. We do have work coming up with the transportation building. It's not as extensive by any means. These 5 words here, work done last year under, that's my error. I should have edited those out Let's just ignore those. They mean nothing. Bid package 16, as I say, totals $3.9 million. And then the remaining $264,000 of the difference of 1.5 million, it's over budget by 1,579. 264,000 of that is made up of other types of allowances, et cetera. But the good news is that taking this into account with this overage, plus the remaining projects which we have fully budgeted for, and the allocations remaining, we still have a balance of about 3.7 million. So we're comfortably we're positioned here even with this turn of events. We have several other options that we're looking at to reduce this overage by covering it from other funding sources. I'm looking at taking about $250,000 from our food service to purchase some of the qualified equipment. I'm waiting to go over that list with Nexus, so that'll help reduce some of that difference as well. And then we have some other possibilities coming in with respect to ESSER and some of these other activities. But at this time, I'm comfortable recommending approval of the McDill bids at $3.9 million as shown on the memo here.
So I will move to approve the bids for McDill Elementary School as shown below, totaling $3,911,827.
Second.
So it's a motion by Wade and a second by Scott. Are there any questions or discussion with respect to this?
I had a question. I didn't get all of exactly what Tom said there. Are we still under the total budget, even with this overage?
Yes. We're over budget on McDill. We met with Nexus, is it causing kickback? We met with Nexus last week, the week before, and it was, it was a tough conversation with us because we weren't, they told us ahead of time, this budget's gonna be over. There's a difference between what I refer to as scope creep and underestimating what needs to get done. There were some scope creep issues that we said, no, we're not gonna, we don't have to do that, we're not gonna do that. This is a production kitchen, and if you take a look at the delivery area where the trucks come in, there's a need to bring an 18-wheeler in there, and that's made some considerable changes. There were some changes made to the office space. We had a reading area in the office space. Quite frankly, that was missed. We had to create another space for remedial reading. There were some bathrooms in I don't have my directions straight, but in a corridor where there's a number of, I believe, special education classrooms, and there's no bathrooms in that area. And so this was it was an oversight. So there were a number of, there were, quite frankly, some things that got missed on this project. Now, that said, we've had several projects that were under budget, and we like to get excited about those. But we always follow that up by saying, get ready because there likely will be some that are over. The entire project, however, we still are under budget. We have Bannock Elementary, we have the professional building, and looking at you guys, I think, is that it? So we're right down, and we're working on those numbers now. But going back, we're still under budget. Matter of fact, if you recall, the referendum was going to include, or the project was going to include $2 million of our fund balance because we wanted to stay under $75 million. But the projects were $77 million. We're still on track not to spend the $2 million of fund balance. So, all in all, we're doing fine.
Are there any other questions from board members with respect to this motion? And it is a motion to approve the bids for McDill Elementary School as shown above, totaling $3,911,827. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? The motion passes.
Our next item is 7E, Workers' Compensation Report. This is for information purposes only. I see our experience modifier is going down, which is a good thing. That's saving the district money. Tom, would you like to comment on that?
I would, because I'd like to express my gratitude to the principals and their staffs and all of the people at the Bliss that also contribute, the custodians, everybody that's making an effort to impress on their staff's safety. I know food service puts out items of awareness frequently, and each year we at the start of school, we put something out, and then when the snow starts to fall, etc. You can see here, these last 4 years, we've experienced around a 1.0 mod. To explain that very simply, that's the state average. If you're at 1, you're doing extremely well. And right now, next year, we're getting a rating of 0.92, which is 8% below state average. And that's absolutely outstanding. As, you know, because it can affect the premium by $100,000, $200,000, depending on what happens. As you see in this particular table, that's in your background, these shaded 3 years are the 3 years that comprise this experience modifier. And you may think that, well, maybe this year's low activity in the buildings of COVID had played into that. Well, it didn't, because this year's activities aren't even included in the rating. We're doing extremely well this year. So perhaps next year will be even better, but of course we are getting the help from the COVID situation in this particular case next year, the following year, because there'll be a little less activity in the building, so we should see better number yet. But to be able to be around this area is extremely helpful, keeps our premiums down. But the most important thing, when we're hitting around here, this is meaning we're practicing extra good safety issues. Fewer people are being injured. We're getting reports quickly the same day or the next day, and people are getting back to work when it's as quickly as possible, when it's healthy and safe for them to do so. So that's just a good indication that the staff is safe, you know, and is not experiencing exposures to undue risk. So I'm very happy about that, and I wanted to express my gratitude to the people involved.
Do board members have any questions of Tom with respect to this? That's great news. That's great news.
You're welcome.
It's a wonderful trend we've been seeing. Hopefully we will continue with it over the course of the last 5 years. It's just been incredible to go from a 1.46 back in 2016, 2017, and now we're at a 0.92. So thank you to everyone for doing the good work to make this happen.
The next item under business services is item F, financial summary of our referendum progress report. This is something we look at on a monthly basis. Tom, would you like to go through that report with us?
The financial?
Yeah, the referendum progress report.
Turn over to Michael, because he's there.
Actually, Tom, the referendum progress report.
Okay.
Item F. Are you there, Tom?
Yes, I am.
Oh, we're looking at item F, which is the financial summary referendum progress report.
I say Michael will take that. Are you there, Mike?
Mike usually does a financial statement.
I can take that. So I'll go ahead and talk about that. That's our referendum progress report. We provide 2 tables which display our total referendum budget, as well as how much of that budget we've paid to date. It includes contracts to date, and also a balance of what contracts that we have, that remaining balance to pay. Table A and Table B are essentially displaying the same information. The big difference is that Table A goes into a little bit more detail, especially in regard to the bid packages and change orders and things like that make up the total cost of each contract to date, where Table B just gives one single amount for each of those contracts by school. But otherwise, it looks like we are at with contract balance of $16,808,000, and we've paid to date $66 million, just a little over $66 million. Are there any questions on the referendum progress report?
Any questions, board members of Mike? Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
And the very last item under business services is item G, review financial statements, also with Mr. Kurtz.
Okay, so the monthly financial statements are through the end of February. February was a short month. There's not a lot of unexpected things that happened. The reports do include a balance sheet, revenue expense report. What's nice about the revenue expense report is it does compare fiscal year activity from 1920 to 2021. It also gives activity as a percentage of budget. And then there's also a comparative expenditure report by major object. At this time, our major expenditures and major revenues are tracking really very close to where they were tracking last year at this time. And so I think we're moving along pretty well and pretty much as expected. Are there any questions for me on that?
Mike, just anything unusual in that February report? Anything that's quite different from last year?
Well, one of the things that's, I think what I heard you right, there is a little bit of an echo, but I'm thinking you asked if there's anything different from last year. One of the things that is different, our revenue, for example, for interest earned is much, much lower than last year, and that's really to be expected due to the environment that we're currently in. Interest rates are just really, really low. You'll also see that revenues in terms of student fees are down, and that's because we made some changes to the way we collected student fees this year due to COVID. But our major expenditures and revenues are coming in as expected.
Another friend visiting.
Are there any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
Are there any other questions of
Thank you,
Mike,
Mike.
except for what's the cat's name?
That one was either Poppy or Hawk. We have 2 black cats, I'm not sure.
See, I had one question,
Yep.
Meg. Maybe this should have been for Tom's presentation, but with the recent loss, looks like we have a loss of money for meals with the recent happenings with the state legislature, that our meals were getting paid for by the federal government money. Is there any way to predict what that will do to us this school year? I mean, it's a lot of money that that we thought we were going to have or not going to have. Is there any idea what that's going to do? to our budget.
So are you're referencing the recent news articles related to the Supreme Court decision that impacts federal funding of some food safety programs?
Yes, yes.
So G is asking if that is going to impact our school lunch program, if anybody is aware whether that will have an impact on our funding.
I don't really know how to answer that at this point. It's really just, I don't really know how to answer that, G, I'm sorry. I can look into that. I don't know at this point.
Too early.
I don't see that impacting our program in the future, but I haven't really looked into that deeply.
I realize that it's very recent.
It's very recent.
News.
We haven't had our cabinet meetings tomorrow. We haven't had a chance to even talk about this yet, so we will be able to come back and report on that.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Next month. I'm not thinking it's going to, but it's just that new right now.
Any other questions by board members with respect to the financial statements? All right. Thanks, Mike. We'll move on to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 11, which is technology services, and it's A, purchase of new laptops for district staff.
Good evening. I prepared a memo for you. You may have had a chance to read through that. I'm just going to kind of summarize it, and then I'll have a chance for the board to ask questions. We're in need of purchasing new staff laptops, and we went through our process this year of doing an RFP to obtain favorable pricing and different models to review. We reviewed 5 finalists that met our specifications that we thought were within the price range that we could afford. We narrowed that down to 2 options, 2 fantastic computers from HP by the same vendor, who, by the way, also provided our previous laptop. They seem to be very good at that. The discussion we had was whether we wanted to go with a regular laptop or a laptop that had additional features, such as a touchscreen and a stylus pen technology. We decided that the best option would be to go for the EliteBook for 2 reasons. It provides our teachers with the best technology for the next 4 or 5 years, including the pen technology, which many teachers are very excited about. We learned over the course of the pandemic that that's a very valuable technology. That's one of those side benefits that came with teachers using laptops and using different annotation programs. And so that was very beneficial for us to see that. The other issue for us is getting equipment. There still exist a number of logistical bottlenecks and challenges. And the model that was less expensive would probably be 6 months to get. And there's no guarantee on that. So we have a very good computer at hand that's a little bit higher end on the price scale, but also offers many advantages, such as the pen technology. It can convert into a tablet. It can be tented. And the teachers that we tested it with were very emphatic that it was an excellent device and they would use that technology. So that's why we're recommending that particular option. I'm seeking approval to purchase, and those funds would come out of the technology budget, which we're putting together. And this time we're actually proposing avoiding a lease and actually making a cash purchase, which would save the district anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000, depending on the lease option that we would have used in the past. So I think it's an excellent proposal. The staff are very excited about it. I feel really good about putting the best piece of technology in our teachers' hands that we can do. So I will answer any questions you might have about the process and the recommendation.
So the leasing that we've done in the past, that was really kind of a way to help us budget-wise and spread that cost over a few years. So now you feel like you have adequate funding and you can just make the purchase and skip the lease.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's been a way to get the technology and use it for 4 years, similar to a car loan where you're driving the car for 4 or 5 years, but you don't have to pay the money up front. If we always had cash available, we would do this all the time. For student laptops, that was an entirely different matter. Now that we're down into lesser quantities because we're just talking about a staff laptop, this becomes more realistic. When you talk about students, providing 7,000 devices makes it very difficult to make an upfront purchase.
Not that that couldn't change from year to year. You know, really it's about what's available, the savings, what makes sense as it relates to timing, availability, obviously the dollars. So that could change. We could come back. We see that with buses, at times. Sometimes it makes more sense to lease buses. Sometimes it makes more sense to purchase the bus.
Brian, how does that affect the company's responsibility for things that go wrong?
Yeah, that's included in the RFP process. That's a requirement. We have 4 years of warranty coverage and an additional battery warranty. That was all part of the specifications that we required from the vendor. So that's included in the price.
That'll be the same as leasing? I mean,
Yes.
that guarantee is still the same?
Yes.
Okay.
And Brian, if this is approved, are you fairly certain that you, of course with shipping and all that you can get these in time?
They're saying probably about 6 weeks,
Okay.
6, maybe 8.
6 to 8 weeks, something.
Yes, and we would sign a letter of intent, and the company's already getting this ready for us, so if we get approval, we're very confident we can get the equipment in time to get it here this summer, get the devices imaged, and get them in the hands of teachers in July and August.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Will there be time for the teachers to have them before the next school year starts, just to get a feel for it, some training and that kind of
Yes.
thing? Awesome.
That's our goal. We want to
Yeah.
do this, we don't want to have to try and do this in December.
Sure.
The other problem we face is, we've had excellent luck with our laptops, but they're getting old. This is
Yeah.
5 years plus, the batteries are dropping off.
Right.
That's our greatest fear, is to get caught flat-footed in the middle of the school year. We don't have a device and we have nothing left to provide to them.
Barb. Brian, you said the teachers, does that mean all staff?
This will be our staff laptop, and it's another nice thing about this proposal is that these features would be universal, so we wouldn't have to try and perpetually figure out, do we need 100 touchscreen devices and 100 regular? That would just be built in. So regardless of the staff member using it, they'd have that option to use it, which is also, it makes our job much, much easier, and it allows us to extend that to other staff.
Thanks.
I think it's kind of interesting that the lead time is so different between the two models, 4 to 6 weeks versus 4 to 6 months. Are you seeing other long lead times due to other technology that you're buying? Is that kind of a COVID thing right now? Or?
Yeah, it depends on the devices. For a while, it was document cameras. I mean, last year we went through this with webcams. Just particular industries get hit hard. The laptop industry has been hit hard with chip problems. The manufacturing of computer chips, microchips, has really impacted that. And I think one of the factors is that most businesses don't need this. So they're thinking, we just want a laptop, and that's why the demand for regular laptops is much greater than the ones that have pen technology built in or a touch screen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Rob?
Is there any need for potential training for staff with the new
We're going to
technology?
put together some basic guidelines on how to use the laptop, but for the most part, they're using the same software that they have. And a number of staff have already had access to, this is a Microsoft Surface. We received some from Century. Those were given to staff and they love them. They're using them in all different areas. This is not necessarily sustainable, and these are also used devices, so we don't know how long those will last, whereas if we get a touchscreen computer, we have 4 years of warranty, and we're pretty guaranteed that we can make those last for a while.
Any other questions of Brian from board members? Then I would be looking for a motion to approve the purchase of 900 HP EliteBook laptops at a cost of $892,431.
So moved.
It's a motion by Rob. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion from board members with respect to the motion? I guess I just want to note, we started out tonight with a tour of our building and saw practical reality of the wonderful support that the community provided to us in terms of our facilities referendum. We've had a number of reports tonight about various facilities that are benefiting our students, our staff, our community. This, I just want to note again, great thanks to our community for their support of our recurring operational referendum, which included $1 million a year for our district to be able to be proactive with respect to technology. And, you know, it's just a wonderful resource. And again, really grateful to the community for supporting our students and our staff with respect to our technology budget for a number of years. Very grateful for Century and for what they provided us in terms of donations. But we as a district are aware that there are needs in this area that require additional funding, and the community stepped up to help us out. So I just want to note that. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion with aye? Aye. Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion passes. Thank you, Brian. We'll move into item 13, general. A is meeting dates, times, locations. I do want to note that we have a second board meeting in April. That meeting will be April 26, 2021. That is our school board organizational meeting. You've all received a survey that was sent out from Carlin. If you could provide that information back to her, she'll compile the results of it and get it back out to board members so board members can take a look and see what board members are interested in being involved in. It is our goal to try to get our committees up and running again by this next school year. Right now, we are recommending it will be discussed at the organizational meeting, but I want to put it out to board members now to think about it. You know, we do have community members on our committees, and those community members clearly were not able to serve a full year with respect to those committees this past year. So there will likely be a recommendation coming to the board to have us reach out to those existing community members to see if they are interested in continuing to serve on those committees and possibly moving in that direction again to allow them that full year. But again, that's something that we'll be taking a look at the organizational meeting. We also may be scheduling the first session of training that we have talked about having for the board that the district is going through with respect to diversity, culture, inclusion. We may be scheduling that for the night of the organizational meeting if it looks like it's going to be a relatively light meeting, and we'd be able to spend that hour with training. It is our intention right now by our school board retreat this summer, all staff will have completed 2 modules, and so it's our hope that we will be able to, by this summer, have the board have completed those same modules that all of our staff is completing. Are there any questions at all about that? Okay, and then we'll have our regular May board meeting will be May 10th, 2021. With that, I am looking for, we need a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to 1985, paren 1, paren C, considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Number 1, specifically to consider the resignation of a teacher. Number 2, specifically to consider preliminary non-renewals. Number 3, specifically to approve an administrator contract. Do I have a motion to go into closed session for those purposes?
Move to go into closed.
Second.
Motion by Ebel, second by Wade. Any discussion or questions of board members? I will have Carlin call the roll.
Ms. Portson,
Yes.
Ms. Va,
Yes.
Mr. Wade,
Yes.
Mr. Pope,
Yes.
Mr. Mansky,
Yes.
Ms. Rano,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Ebel,
Yes.
Ms. Erler.
Yes.
Unanimous to move into closed session.
All right, so we will take about a 10-minute break to get things set up, and if people who are remote, who are going to be in the closed session, if you could sign out and then sign back in for closed session. Thank you.